94.3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city and home of the Juan Castillo Morning Show. This is Moving Target. Good morning, New Haven. I am your host, Jake Kemp. And with me, as always, is my brother, Remedy Sharif. What's good, bro?
Peace and blessings. Super Saturday. We back in effect.
We back in effect. Hey, you're not a Game of Thrones fan, right?
Yes, I am.
You are?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Anybody else in the building? A Game of Thrones fan? Okay, we got Black Nerd in the building. Yeah, salute to all of us Game of Thrones fans, man. We're witnessing right now the last scripted, like, epic show. I don't think there's gonna be any more scripted shows after this
But
that are this big.
I haven't seen them yet.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
believe me, look. I'm on right now. Right now, I'm on edge. I am literally on edge. I'm about to watch the two today in a row. Sometimes
The two what? What season
the
are
two
you on, bro?
episodes, 6, the last
Okay,
one.
okay.
But sometimes I like to wait because when I watch one and I'm waiting till the next week, it gets, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I wait so I can watch two of them. Yeah, I could watch two of them in a row, man. And
Yeah.
it's really like in
Oh
another
man,
zone.
it's a great feeling. It's
Yes.
so I think Game of Thrones could actually solve world peace talks. Like I feel like if the leaders of the world needed to find a way to just like get along, they could start with Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Pastor Lewis, you getting out of Game of Thrones fan?
What's it like?
Get
Soap
to the mic.
opera?
First of all,
Soap opera
thank
or
you, sir.
something like
No,
that?
it's not a soap opera, bruh.
Okay.
How dare you? I got a new respect for Dungeons and Dragons players. Like when I was little, the kids coming up playing Dungeons and Dragons, I never understood it.
Is it a soap opera?
Right? Come on,
him.
bro.
It
Stone
sounds
him.
like
Moving on. Moving
Over
on.
now, thank you.
General Hospital.
Stone him.
Shame. Oh man, yeah. So we have a really serious show. That's kind of why I wanted to start it off light. We're also opening this up to everybody listening. 203-562-9430. Call in and leave your comments, your questions. But a very serious show. 3 names: Anthony Chulo Vega Cruz, Stephanie Washington, and Paul Witherspoon. 3 young people who, again, were impacted by police brutality and excessive force. Hamden officer Devin Eaton and Yale police officer Terrence Pollock opened fire on Stephanie Washington and Paul Witherspoon, leaving Stephanie injured. And Wethersfield officer Liu Ulysser Jr. I'm probably messing up that name, but anyway, he was he shot and killed 18-year-old Anthony Chulo Vega Cruz. All right. And we, the people of Connecticut and across the nation, have been seeking justice for these young people and demanding that not only are these officers stripped of their badges and fired with no chance to rehire, but more importantly, charged. All right. The people came together. We stood together in solidarity and we brought awareness to an ongoing issue here in Connecticut. All right. And that's what's so great about protesting and rallying. It brings people together so we can stand in solidarity. Here in New Haven, we have faced many tragedies and have come together before this, and this isn't the first time. All right. And being someone who has been involved in community work in some capacity for the past 19 years, I've never liked nor wanted to be involved with the leadership or the politics of it all. I just want to see my people win. It's the only lane that I was in. And right now I'm in the lane of media activism, but I've always been the one to bring people together for certain conversations. Malcolm X and Jesus Eat Fish, brought Muslims and Christians together. Hip hop perversion, going around speaking about the perversion of hip hop culture and how that was intentional to dumb down our young people. This is before the YouTube Illuminati stuff. And then, talk during the movie, which was just a fun way of us being able to come together and have a fun memory. And barbershop debates, having conversations in the barbershop about toxic masculinity and other conversations. My lane was to create our narrative, and a narrative that best represents us as a people, as a community. But if you ask me who our community leaders are, I don't know. And that's exactly how I'm coming today. I'm coming today as a community member. That's it. Wanting to know who are our leaders, because that's one thing that this whole protest opened up, was that we saw leaders who I guess are our leaders, and then young faces who look as though they are becoming the new leaders. And my question is, as everybody's asking, well, who are our leaders? What exactly are we doing in regards to initiatives and plans and strategy? And who's at the table with that? All right. So to really get to the bottom of this and to figure that out, and to figure out how do the older leaders continue passing the baton to the younger ones effectively.
Pass the torch.
For us to really look at that, we have Pastor John Lewis, who is also not only a pastor of Life Center Ministries, but also you work with CT Nonviolence.
Right. Now I'm pastoring like Christ Chapel New Testament Church
Okay.
on Dixwell Avenue.
Okay.
So Life Center kind of merged with
With them.
Christ Chapel. Right.
All right.
Right.
And we have Sean Reeves. Sean Reeves, if you could just give a background, not just about Sport Academy, but please mention that, but also just your background as a community member with your way of, your capacity of activism.
So my name is Sean Reeves, a community member. I've been here 46 years. It'll be this year that I've lived inside of New Haven. From the time I can remember till now, most of our leaders have always been in the pastoral role. You know, I don't really know many community leaders outside of that. We had a lot of community fathers, I want to say, right? So we had tons of community mentors growing up. Coach Jackson, Mr. A, Freeman Holloway, you know, all of these gentlemen, but those were never gentlemen that were in front of the mic, you know, things like that. They were just gentlemen that always worked with the youth. You know, the people in front of the mic, I've always seen pastors, right?
So your time as a community member though, what have you done? Like not
so-
really what you've done, but your capacity of activism and leadership
So
as you see it.
I've just come into this activism capacity. I want to say 2012. You know, my son had gotten killed in 2011, which kind of changed my life. Before that, I was selling drugs. You know, pretty much a product of my environment. You know,
Right.
trying to figure out a way out. With that being said, my activism role now has just been about the conditions in the community, right? The mental conditions of our male population, matter of fact, of our youth population.
Right.
You know, nobody's servicing them. Nobody's servicing them. We talk about gun violence, right? But then after every death, you know, these kids are affected. None of them have had any type of psychiatric help probably in 20 years. Right. You know what I mean? I never see psychiatrists flood our community after a death or a big rash of gun violence, stuff like that, right? So these kids are suffering. They're all on narcotics or some type of, you know, something trying to cope. So this is where we are right now, and the community leaders are not trying to solve that. What community leaders anyway? But nobody's trying to solve it.
So let's deal with that question first, you know, because I think there's a lot of people. I don't think I'm the only one who's wondering, like, all right, well, who are these community leaders, right? And we have some young people in the building too who are going to add to this discussion. We got young King Spencer. What's good, bro?
What's going on? Good morning, New Haven.
And then we got Justin, who's always here, you know, helping out in the station.
Yeah, man. Good morning, everyone.
So, Pastor Lewis, you know, we talk about the clergy. The clergy has, if anybody needed to point to somebody, you know, like Sean Reeves said, we usually point to the clergy. What is the clergy doing?
Well, I mean, again, I can't speak for the clergy at large, but from what the principle of what the clergy is supposed to be, the activity of the clergy is supposed to be discipling people to be leaders in their community, that they can really start to take that shared leadership position. Again, when we say who are our leaders, that I think the question is coming from because we've always looked at the hierarchy. We always looked at one person being our leader or having that one individual to be the one to lead the way when we all are leaders, but we don't know how to really understand or even operate in a shared leadership because all of us have the capacity one way or another to be influential
Yeah, I'm sorry. Would you say, just to keep that going, would you say that the clergy has always had that issue to share that leadership?
Yes, the clergy do struggle with that because once again, it's generational because again, if you have a people that never, especially the black clergy, if you have a people that never really had a voice, but then now the opportunity comes for them to be the voice, and if they don't understand how to manage that, then they become the hierarchy leadership. And now whatever they do or don't do, that deems the whole clergy, platform or accountability. But again, I just think that we're in this time now, as Brother Sean was saying, when we was coming up, it's just about being conscious and loving your community and your people enough and those that living in your environment to be that example. We got to get out of the mindset of saying who's going to lead us to this next step. Instead, you take that next step and hold people accountable. There's a difference in looking to a leader opposed to holding people accountable. Rim has a voice in the community. When anything happening, he's engaged with the young people. I can't do that, but can I work along with him? Can we partnership and do something together? Can we walk down or deal with the situations together? I would never try to overstep what I know he know how to do. But then he also has to understand what my role is and allow me to be able to execute that also. But I think what happens, we just blend everything together. We think that we can assume all the roles, and we can't.
Right. And Sean, I know you have something you wanted to add on to that. I wanted to ask, when it comes to the politics of it all, it looks as though clergy is very invested in the politics as well, right? So there has to be some
clergy.
Some clergy.
Right, sir. So we got to really be mindful of that. Just like we don't want to say, like when they group us and say all black people were lazy years ago, they're not going to amount. So we got to be careful also when we look at that. All clergy is not a politician. However, if we do have one that's a politician.
Well, not a politician, but connected to politicians.
But again, if we have someone connected to politics, which we live in a political system,
we need that.
Yeah, then we need to hold that individual accountable to the community that he says he represents or they represent. That's all. And we don't do that well. We'd rather cut his throat, knock him down, and just say, man, later for you, man, you're not a part of us. And that looks so foolish to us in the community, bro. We got to understand how to have our disagreements, but come outside unified together, because if not, that's what keeps us in the condition that we're in for so long.
Sean, I know you wanted to add on.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I think that the clergy has been a forefront runner inside of our community probably since we came out of slavery. Technically, there was a time where the pastor and the priest were really the people that could talk to everybody else. Through time, the barbers became, real influential and informational inside of the community, outside of the church, right? Yes. So it was the church, and then it was the barbershop, and now we have this time where we live in the community. The barbershop is not really the cornerstone anymore, and the church has taken on a new position inside of the community, right? So now, when it comes to who's really speaking for the community, it's hard to say who is, right? Because the church used to really do for the community, and they don't really do for the community, I feel, in the ways that they used to as a kid. When I was a youth, every church had a youth group when I was growing up.
I wanna go to the youth since you're talking about that. Spencer, what do you feel? I mean, you're what, 22?
20 actually.
20. All right. So
2 years.
2 years. Yeah. So
I'll be 21 soon.
All right. So what do you feel, man? I mean, I know for me coming up, there was Mother Fair, there was even Shafiq, Winfield. There was a lot of people I looked at and I had conversations with as a young person. I'm like, really feeling like those are some people who are solid leaders. Yeah, John too. No, Pastor John definitely. Pastor John, like, what about me? But what about you? Who do you feel in this community or even just at large? Who do you feel you would identify as leaders?
In this community, I can't really say a specific name just because of the fact that I don't think our generation was it's been brought onto us. They don't teach us about our leaders within our community. It's not the fact that we won't listen to them. It's the fact that it's not emphasized on us.
Okay.
And at large, I'm going to have to say musicians. Personally, me, I feel like they have the most impact on our culture. A lot of it, hip hop culture is emulating society.
No doubt.
Whether it be good or for bad, I know. Just even this past Sunday, Coachella, Kanye West had like over 30 million streams. So people are tuning in to hear what these rappers have to say. Even after the passing of Nipsey Hussle, a lot of people, especially the youth, taking a real investment on like owning their own property and businesses. So I think a lot of the youth are listening to these musicians.
Yeah, I always used to say that, and it used to be a conversation, and it's like, oh, it's deeper than that, and it's like, nah. Like Jay-Z is the closest, the voice that your child's gonna listen
They're
to
in the
before the
position-
pastor, before anybody.
They're in the position of power. I feel like, we see these people. They come from communities like us. They look like us, and we see them in positions of power. So we try to emulate ourselves to them. Like we find ways out. Like a lot of people want to be musicians. A lot of people want to be ball players because that's what we see. So I don't think there's like a lot of STEM figures in the black community like that's like promoted, or even the clergy's not promoted as much as it's used to.
Right.
So
No doubt.
it's just based on what we're being fed, the content we see on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah,
Can I say this too? And without question, in the time that we're living in, the young people, the generation that's coming up, you was destined to be great and to be leaders. And I do have to say that as adults, we have failed you all in some
Yes,
sense, and
absolutely.
so we got to own that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
However, what I will say to the young people, and I love the fact that the young people are being inspired by those that they can identify with. However, if accountability is not your partner, then the moral part of us as a people is going to be toxic. And so again, you have success, but at the same time, you have where there's disrespect, there's no honor amongst one another. Where it's easy for us to take our life because the balance of those expressions that come through hip hop are really not checked somewhat. So this is why you can take on the mindset of violence from what you have been visualizing because of the lack of what we should have been
Absolutely.
in position of to help balance you out or help to give you that piece that could say, yo, you don't have to act like that, but you can listen to that.
Right.
You don't have to take on that personality. It's nothing but entertainment. And so without that piece, again, that happens. But all I say to those, and I love it, man, buy up property, own your own, do your thing, but love one another and hold each other accountable. And that moral level of us, we got to go there. And that's what the clergy is supposed to represent.
And I've said many a times.
Spiritual
that,
leaders, can I say that?
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
I'm saying Islam and whatever religion that you have deemed to embrace, bruh, that our integrity is very vital to the development and the success of our community.
And the connection goes along with that that Jay was making as far as the clergy being collected to the political aspect is because the political aspect and agenda was to basically get the people of color away from our true connection to our spirituality and focus it on one thing that was going to keep us enslaved, trapped us all moving in one direction. And a lot of the clergy has brought into that. So as they've brought into that, we've been absent in our communities because that's not what they want us, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to own that, accept that, and apologize, for that to the youth. Because on a level we've all dropped the ball on a level. When I look
Absolutely.
at our young people going crazy out here, it's like, wow, we let this happen.
Yeah.
And if we can own our part, young, old, clergy, hip hop, just own your part of
Absolutely.
responsibility. Ain't nobody perfect, man. But we allow people to make gods out of us, bruh. We allow people, we become an idol to people, and we sit back, those that idolize us, and we go ahead and soak it in.
If some of y'all ask who is it that's rapping on the intro, well, the brother who is rapping is about to speak. Doc Banff, Black Nerd. What's good,
And
brother?
we've got that
Peace,
many a
Sam City.
times. Yo,
Peace,
who's that?
man.
Who's
Yeah,
that?
right.
But building, adding on to can you hear me? All right. Adding on to the subject matter that we're talking, like a lot of the disconnect between the youth, the older elders, and then the middle elders is there's this respect thing, and the elders and even people my age, a little younger, we want this respect. But the thing is, the youth, they're not the same. They're not the youth like we grew up being. You know what I'm saying? Where you say yes, ma'am, yes, sir to your parents, your grandparents. Where somebody else gonna check you if you do something wrong, and by the time you get home, your mother and father already know what time it is.
Right.
These children aren't growing up like that. So we got to realize that we in 2019, not 1979, and we got to realize like, yo, these children already know about respect and what respect is. And if you don't give it to them, that's fine, but they're gonna shut you out.
Right.
And then when you try to put them on to something that's positive, a way that they could take $10,000 in drug money and go buy property or whatever, like you try to build with the youth, but if you can't meet them on their respect level, they're not gonna talk to you.
Young people, Spencer, would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, especially with this generation, like respect is a big thing. I won't say like age does play a matter in effect, but typically on average, like we tend to respect people who respect us, and like if like the disconnect is where the disrespect. So I feel like if our
Disconnect. That's
You
good.
see,
That's good.
and the only reason why I bring age into the situation or into the discussion is because when I grew up, you could have been one of the worst community members ever. But if you were older than me, I was saying yes, sir, to you. I had to salute you, even if you weren't even worthy of it. Even in our own families, like we spoke earlier about checking each other.
Yes.
And that's when respect come. Like, if we can check each other and learn to love each other and see each other for who we are, whether you young or old, young people are wise, man. And old people sit there like, oh, I ain't listening to you. You're only 20 years old.
Yeah.
Like,
It
nah.
goes back to
Hold on, what's that? 203-562-9430. Make sure y'all call in if you want to add to this discussion. 203-562-9430. We are talking about our current community leaders, how we're going to pass the torch, and what else what stands in our way of really bringing our leaders together, bringing the people together. We talked about respect. We talked about, the clergy and the fact that the things that clergy needs to hold themselves accountable to.
the people need to hold clergy.
The people need to
accountable.
hold,
Yes.
absolutely. Sean, I want to bring it back to you also, is that, we've had conversations and I've heard your ideas or about the way things should be looking, and even down to like creating a round table where we all could really discuss, you know what I'm saying, and really strategize. What are some things that you feel as though we need to be thinking about when we talk about unity? What are some things that you think would bring us together that we're not currently doing?
I mean, first of all, collectively, the community needs to decide and come to a realization that we have to become a purposeful people again, right? We have to become very meticulous and attentive on which direction we're trying to go from here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We all want change, but we don't want to deal with the things that we need to deal with in order to make real change happen. You know what I mean? So the community has a fight on its own in itself. You know what I mean? But this is the reason why I say, I think it's time for some round tables. Like we have all of these neighborhood corporations and neighborhood groups inside of the community, right? But do all of the neighborhood groups sit down once a week or once a month and talk amongst each other about how do we effectively deal with the whole entire city, not just the Ville or the Hill or the
Right.
Trade. You know what I mean?
Right.
So until we can get to those levels of conversation, we still in a boxed in situation, because when I go to New Hallville, people think I'm just dealing with New Hallville. I'm not a New Hallville member.
So sometimes I know a lot of times people, when we talk about strategy, and this could go for everybody, when we talk about strategy, we talk about, okay, well, what are we doing on policy and legislation, right? What are we doing with our youth? What programs are going on for our youth? We talk about those things, which are all important. How important is it, and maybe I'll ask you, Pastor Lewis, how important is it before we even go to that, when we have these discussions, that we start to air out our own personal baggage and bias with each other?
It's very important, because no matter what we think about our babies, our young people, we got to understand the trauma that they have experienced but yet that does not stop their position that they're going to grow into. But if they grow into that position, it's going to be by default, and you might get some of this, what we see and experience, if we as leaders do not get rid of our baggage and able to have healthy conflict and understand where me, you, and all the others that are supposed to be up in front, we don't show that collectiveness. Why will we ever demand that from the babies that are coming up, from the young people that are coming up? Because life is reflective. And so no matter what we conversate about, I can talk real good. But at the end of the day,
Converse.
my identifiable piece with you is going to be what I see.
Right. And so it's just like we come from basically what we're taught. You know, so I came up in an era where we were taught respect and values, things like that. You know, I still carry those things, but then the era under me came up in a different situation, and the era under them came up in a whole entirely different situation. You know, so we lost the balance somewhere, even in our family structure, you know, that we have to maintain. But how do you empower people?
Right.
Is the question,
I mean,
right?
I
Wait,
think
social
about it.
media-
I think about it and look at it, and you know, to a degree of so the quote unquote elders and the leadership, like Pastor Lewis was saying, is that we need to be able to look at ourselves and look at the mirror and recognize that we have been damaged. We have been seriously damaged in order to fix and help with our youth, because again, we cannot ask our youth to look towards us as leadership. If we're divided, how can we ask them to stand together and be unified? Because we're not together and unified. So we got to start looking at ourselves. I've looked at, when I began my journey, I looked at myself. It came with me looking at myself in the mirror and saying, yo, Rem, you're damaged. What do you need to fix in yourself in order to be able to move on and make and affect change?
I do want to go into, when we say divided, you know, without airing out too much privacy, you know, or too much,
There's some
without
things going on.
without going too
There's
transparent.
some things going
When
on.
we say divided, I would like to actually go into the division we talking about. Because divided, you could say, oh, Christian versus Muslim, that's a divide, right? And that might be going on. But it's even pettier than that, should I say, where it's like, I don't like you because of, you know, you were supposed to do such and such and you didn't do it, and that happened in 2007 and I'm still mad at you about that, so I don't really rock with you. That's some pettiness going on.
And-
so I want, hold on one second, I want to go into that divide, you know what I'm saying? But I also want to bring up the fact that it's important when we talk about the things we need to deal with within ourselves, that with black men and black women, we need to know that we equally need each other. When black women speak, black men need to be next to them supporting. You know what I'm saying?
When black men
And
speak,
And vice versa,
our
but I
queens need
think-
to be next to us, support.
Right, and vice versa. But I do believe that we're in a time where it's beautiful to see women taking the lead of speaking. You know what I'm saying? Because we know back in the day, women might not have been seen, but they were absolutely the core
Yes.
of the whole civil rights movement, right? Even though what we see is men speaking, but the women were holding them down.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
absolutely. And
1,000%. So now, being in a time like this, I think it's important for black men to acknowledge the things that we have done to cause a divide and stand with our women, and vice versa. Women standing with with the men. So I think that's important to acknowledge when it comes to the divide that's within us.
Brother Sean said something, Brother Reed said something earlier, man. We need healing, bro, because we are a people that are functioning, that have been wounded. I'm talking about a total society that has been set apart, and we're just surviving. We can't even thrive because we don't even understand what you're talking about, because it has been so distant from us. And I'm older than everybody in here, so when I got a thought, y'all need to let me say it before I forget it. Okay?
That's true.
No, hold
That's
up.
true. Nah,
Hold
he
up.
right. We can't have
Wait.
ageism up in
Wait,
here.
wait,
That's right.
wait,
After
but-
80 years old, you're right. You could lose it like that.
No, wait.
Go for it, lose.
Wait,
Did you forget the thought? Did you
no,
get it
I
back?
got it. I
Okay,
still
go
got
ahead.
it.
Go
Here
ahead,
we
bro.
go. But media, and I'm gonna tell you right now, y'all gotta stop, man. Y'all gotta be conscious. people that are influential on the media.
Yes.
You need to be conscious of your content, because I got
agree.
something the other day, somebody talking about backdoor deals or whatever like that, according to the situation that we are dealing with in our community.
Yeah.
We was able to go and see the president of Yale and had a great discussion about making our community better and safer and doing something, not just and thank God them young people didn't die in this situation, but how many have by what has happened in the streets, okay?
Right.
Whether it was by the hands of each other or by police. But when you put stuff like that out there like that, you got to understand the sickness of our people. And they're going to feed off of that because they already live toxic.
Right.
They already have issues like that. So media, y'all play a very important role.
No question.
So you can't just throw content out there, and then you got to understand that feeds and that goes by, and they want you to do that. And according to our women and the respect we got to have for one another, society has really disrespected the woman. And all we did was follow suit, like I said to the young brothers. And that are coming up with hip hop, a lot of that, and I love what that I still didn't get it yet. Hip hop detox, but anyway, was able to unwrap that and
Talking about when the hip hop detox,
that you
the
did,
fast.
yes, that
yeah.
you did fast, and I still didn't get it. But anyway, so what I'm saying is that when he did that, to give the real depth of that, the understanding of that, the breadth of that, opposed to it being toxic, we got to respect our women. We can't have our women, just exposing themselves, because again, the animalistic nature of man is just there,
And
you
that's
can't ask a man to be act civil when what he was been created to be is to be attracted to a woman, and the women have to allow the men. The original order of it was men protect your women.
Yes, sir.
Men be the physical structure of the family that you can protect, take care of your family, provide for your family, and lead your family and keep them safe. But now you got it flipped because society has disrespected women in such a way, so now they are saying, I'm the man and I don't need a man.
Right. Bam.
We were, speaking on the divide, like what I see is there's a big divide between religion and the followers, and then people who aren't doing that. You know what I'm saying? And with that, we're gonna always have problems, because in a sense it's kind of like looking down at somebody who hasn't accepted Christ or whoever in their life, and it's like, that's not the issue. Like, really, we supposed to judge people by their character, their content, and that's who they are. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And a lot of times, the reason why our division is going on between, within our own black communities or whatever, is because we've been trained to look at each other like this racist system looks at us.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Socialization.
So for me to be accepted to look at you, I got to look at you like the rest of the racist system look at you, so that the racist system accepts my opinion of you.
Right.
And the thing is, we black people, regardless of whether you indigenous of this country, African, Caribbean, South or Central American, like if you black, when things get black, it gets real. And when it gets real, people get scared. Everybody gets scared. White people, black people, whoever, they get scared, because that's powerful. When we unite,
Yes.
Yes. There's nothing that's gonna stop us.
Yes.
Nothing.
Yes.
We can't even stop us anymore.
Right.
And I think we get in our own way with this prejudiced way of thinking of each other. This brother right here is a Muslim, Christian. I may be whoever I am. But at the bottom line, once we get rid of these religions, once we get rid of these political parties, once we get rid of what
The
gang or side of
labels and-
town I
yeah,
am, right?
yeah.
Guess how the cops look at us?
As
Same
one.
way.
Right.
Guess how the politicians that a lot of our clergy, a lot of our city people want to run to, guess how they look at us?
The same
Because
way.
they the ones
Yes, sir.
telling the cops and the educational system and the social systems and the doctors and all of them to treat people a certain way.
Yeah.
And as long as we keep that in our mind while we trying to judge our own folks and clean up our own house, we just gonna have problems.
that's
I
a
gotta
big
bring
issue.
it. I gotta
That's-
bring it back to the gods and earths.
But look, but
You know,
that's
when they
that-
say it starts with knowledge.
But that's a big issue, and because we have to be mindful that the ones that are able to go in front of the media, because we talk about the media at times puts a certain narrative, and that's not right. But the ones that go in front of the media that quote unquote represent our communities have to be mindful that they're representing our communities and be inclusive and thoughtful of our communities. There's too many ones that will go in front of the same system media that's pushing their narrative and aid and abet what they're pushing. And not only that, also the quote unquote leadership that goes in front of these media platforms, they sit up there all day and say, we this, we that, we this, we that, and never came to the community and
Well,
asked
yeah.
the community anything.
That's
so
another
how,
one.
How are you standing up saying we, or I'm doing that, and the people that are doing the work in the trenches on the ground ain't never seen you?
Yeah, because I there's people that do appear when the cameras come on, and I'm like, wait, who's that? I've seen them before, but the last time I saw them was when the cameras was on.
But the question is, can you connect that individual with somebody that have been in the trenches? Because that's what we got to understand. I might not see, I know I see Rim in the trenches, and so, but Rim is with a politician, and he's in that circle of conversation. Well, that makes that situation a little bit different for me. Why? Because I know Rim ain't gonna play. And if Rim is standing with him, I know that he's saying something.
But
to
has
him.
Rem came back to you and said, "Look, bro, I have a meeting set up."
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? I got a meeting set up,
Well,
and
see,
I'm
yeah.
ready to go in front of cameras. What's the plan? I'm going in front of
That-
they
But
all
not
do
even
that.
just
but-
that.
but
Not
that's
even
strategy.
Not even just that. But also,
It's
look,
strategy.
we got a meeting going on where there's no cameras. Can you come?
Yes.
A lot of these leaders
yes.
who show
Wait
up
a
for the
minute.
cameras are be like, oh yeah, let me check my schedule. I'm gonna get back to you.
There's a strategy
Let me check
to
my
that.
Palm Pilot.
Hold up, listen, seriously.
goodness.
I want us. If we talking real, again, accountability. Hold us accountable. Hold your leaders or those that you deem to be leaders accountable. Those that got influence and that got that connection. Because at the end of the day, baby, it's about money.
But do
and
they
not-
care?
Hold up, yes. I can say to you that they do. A lot of them do. The ones that you may think don't care because what their personal agenda is sometimes outshines, but they do care. What we got to do, we got to help them with that, all right? But all I'm saying, we do not need to throw them away. We need, once again, hey, bruh, pull them to the
You gonna
side.
stop hitting me too?
I'm sorry.
But you know,
Pull him
yeah.
to
I'ma
the
tell you that
side,
for the last
right?
time.
Pull him to the side, and I say, Brother Sean, you know what I'm saying? I like to talk to you, man.
Absolutely.
Do not do that publicly in the sense where they show and they see where now we not together. Cause
On
that's,
social media,
that's
yeah.
divide and conquer, bro.
Right.
And what's that going to do? We ain't worried about them because them Negroes are going to.
They not even right with themselves.
This is Negro stuff.
So
that
to
they doing.
So to wrap up, because and of course this is only the beginning of conversations like these.
Oh, can I just
think
say this
I
one-
think no, hold on one
I have
second,
a
brother.
service that I for free, integrated wellness, Dr. Akbar. I wanted to say that. I
Okay,
forgot. Wait,
okay.
wait. And it's free mental health. Since this situation,
Yes.
you can call integrated wellness, and they're dealing with this tragedy that's happened to
great.
our young people, and it's free.
That's great. And just so y'all know, she wrote Urban Trauma. So
Yes.
literally wrote the book on the way things like this affect us
Yes.
mentally in our wellness.
Say your
So that's
name
crazy
again.
important.
Say your name again.
Dr. Maisha Akbar, Integrated Wellness.
Yes.
I saw her post that offering her
Yes,
services.
It's free.
And it's free, and that's
Yeah.
insane. That's really great. Before we wrap up, I want us to be clear. Number one, I think we came to the conclusion that we all need to play our part as a leader,
Yes, sir.
right? We all need to play our part as a leader. We need to hold those who have positions like clergy accountable
And influencing the community.
and influencing the community
Not just
accountable.
clergy, because you got some people that got real powerful influence.
No doubt.
In the community. I'm sorry, but I
Sean
didn't-
Reeves,
Yeah, go ahead.
accountable. Sean Reeves, I'll give you the last word.
We're playing chess now, gentlemen.
Oh, yeah, Sport Academy.
So, Sport Academy, I'm Sean Reeves. The word sport is an acronym that stands for each and every gentleman that's sitting in this room, each and every sister that's in our community. It's street poets cipher real truth. We all got some type of poetry that we supposed to disseminate back into our community, from the wrongs that we may have did and learned from, even the rights that we that we know and learn from, right? So again, we have to be systematic about what we do. Chess has 16 pieces on it, on each side. We have to hit this thing from 16 different angles or as many different angles as possible. And it doesn't take one, it takes the collective to do so.
So I think the roundtable discussion is necessary. I want to thank everybody for joining me. Let's continue these conversations. All right, this is Moving Target 94.3 WYBC.
Peace.
Peace.